with while you guys are doing that, let's start with a quick round of intro. So I'm gonna go around and I want everybody to share the four things: name, major, year, and your current location. So why don't we start with Sophie?
Hi, I'm Sophie. I'm a first year, majoring in probably mechanical engineering, and I'm in Philadelphia right now. Is that all the things?
Great, great. Yeah, and if possible, it'd be really helpful if you guys just keep your camera on. It helps me remember that you guys are real people. Thank you. Um, and yeah, Sophie, feel free to pick the next person in the intro. I'll go last.
Maria, do you want to go next?
Hi, yeah, I'm Maria. I'm a sophomore and I'm majoring in mechanical engineering in 2A in particular. And I'm currently in Somerville. Yeah, I think that's about it. Selma, do you want to go next?
Yeah, my name's Selma. I'm a mechanical engineering, possibly like design minor, junior, and I'm in New York.
Woo! Awesome. Great to meet everybody. My turn. So my name is Wei. When I was at MIT, I majored in mechanical engineering, minor in design and entrepreneurship. So any of you guys interested in those things, feel free to love to talk more offline. I graduated year 2019, and I'm currently located in Boston, Massachusetts. So that's so just to add on to that, I'm also working as an engineer right now in the product development industry, and um, more specifically on the topic of portfolios. I've been exploring this topic for the past 3 years. As a disclaimer, I'm not an authority on the topic of building portfolios. I didn't go to college for portfolios. So take what I say with a grain of salt, right? But having spent the last few years working on mine, I have learned a lot from my experiences and hopefully can help you work on yours as you prepare for your job search. Um, and while there are many different formats to the portfolio, there's the physical booklet, there's for example, physical booklet, digital PowerPoint. I am and more. I am going to focus on websites today because I personally think that's the most versatile and effective format, especially for me as an engineer. Hey Harman, so we're just going around with intros. Do you mind just introducing yourself, name, major, year, and location?
All right. If I remember all that. My name's Harmon. I'm thinking about 6'2", but I'm also interested in design, so I'm not too sure, but I think about it. By 6'2", I mean electrical engineering and computer science. Major year. I'm a freshman right now. And I'm currently in Somerville, Massachusetts.
Awesome. Yeah, just to catch you up, Maria's also in Somerville. Selma and I are both
Nice.
aspiring. Well, we were both doing the design minor. She's working on hers and I finished mine. So if you're interested in those topics, we can definitely talk more offline. Cool. So let's get the show off the row. So the purpose of today is to talk about portfolio. So let's get started. Portfolio, right? What's the purpose of a portfolio? So it's when I think about portfolio, I think of it as an extension to the other pieces of information that you share with an employer, right? When you're applying to a job, people usually ask you for a resume, a cover letter, an interview. But before you get to the interview stage, usually they want to ask you for your portfolio, right? Now, if you think about all these other pieces of information you're already giving people, it's a lot of text, right? Look at your resume, it's a lot of text. Look at your cover letter, it's even more text. Now, portfolio, the way I think about it, this has to complement, right, these other pieces of information. So the most successful portfolios that I have seen have a lot of images, they're very colorful, and it tells a story. And it combines these elements in a way that the resume and cover letter cannot, right? The key word there is it complements, right? None of these are supposed to work independently. And so I'm always thinking about these three items as a team. So that's kind of that's what a portfolio is. And I'm gonna get started by talking about just examples of portfolios, right? I want to make this really hands-on, and what's a better way to to get hands-on than to talk about myself? No, I'm joking. The reason why I'm talking about myself is because it's the easiest way. Like, it's because I can walk you guys through the entire process and show you guys kind of and show you guys my thinking process. But yeah, so let's start with my portfolio. This is my homepage. The URL, it's my full name.com, right? It's simple. It's simple and it's straightforward, right? It's me. So and on the first page, I do an about me section where I just introduce myself, like who I am, and just what I'm about in 2 paragraphs. And then I talk about my education and then some top level skills. And then I include my resume here. Again, the portfolio works in tandem with the resume and the cover letter. So these things go hand in hand. So this is my homepage. And then if you look at the top left, I have 4 major kind of navigation areas. We're currently in the about page, which is where my homepage is. So if you click my logo here, if you click about, that brings you to my homepage, right? Very simple website. And then and then next to it is my journey. And I'll explain this a little bit later, but this right here, I talk about it's a chronological timeline of my life from the day where I was born, from the month I was born, to kind of where I'm at now, to graduation. And it highlights some of the big things about me. And the reason why I have this here is to tell my unique story, right? The portfolio, and I'll get back to this, but yeah, I'll actually get back to this. So that's the journey piece. And then next to journey is my quote unquote portfolio, right? Which is the topic of the day. This is where I showcase my most relevant work. I got a title up top and I got a big picture. I got a big, nice cover photo for each individual project / product. So I have a really nice big photo. I got a 1 paragraph summary of what's going on. And then I got 2 lines for skills that I utilize for those projects. So here I have technical skills, I have soft skills, and that's the general format, right? So this is the quick summary, and then it's followed by a learn more button. And let's go into this. So when you click learn more, this brings you into an expanded version of that project, right? So again, same photo. This is the thing that ties it together. But if you scroll down, you're gonna see more things, and this is where I'm adding information that the resume and the cover letter do not have space for. I'm dedicating an entire page on this project, right? So first, on the left side, I provide context. This is where I explain, what this is, the conditions, maybe some of the challenges, maybe some high-level achievement that the team did together. And now I think a lot of people are very good at doing this, but what they're not as good and trained at doing is talking about themselves, right? Look here, like this is like a good example of like where you guys should be going for. Like, you give them context, that's important, but then you also got to be able to emphasize what you did and where you contributed. And if you just kind of compare, right? What my contribution was twice as long as the context. Why? Like this is a page about me, not about the team, not about another teammate, despite how awesome they are. This is about me. So I'm spending all the space in text talking about my contributions, right? And you guys can feel free to come back to this afterwards to just read the details, but just to give yourself some inspiration. But that's kind of what this is. And so far, I probably contradicted myself with how I said the portfolio should be a lot of photos and images and colors, but this is all text in 1 photo. But that's the that's the start. If you go down, like this is where my photo gallery begins. I have this gallery, I forget how many photos that show the product development process. It starts with photos from when I first started. This is what it looked like. For context, I was building a robotic bartender with a team at MIT, and I was one of the main engineers. So as you can see, this is the bare you know, just photos, right? Let's go down. I'm just gonna scroll, and I'm not even gonna say anything, right? And then here, product rendering, right? These are some of the cat renderings. And if you keep going down, some demos. If you keep going down, very last, we get a video showing the thing working. I'm gonna mute it because it's kind of loud. But yeah, so you see the thing working, right? Imagine if I didn't speak. So what I encourage you to do is to come back to this page after this, after our time together, and just kind of try to imagine you didn't know me and you were going through this page, right? I'm telling you a narrative and kind of and tell me and you be the judge of how good I am at telling that narrative, right? But my goal here is to tell my story for this project. You know, what did I do? You know, there's the big catchy title. Here's a subtitle. Here's a big picture. Here's the context. Here's what I did. And then here are the photos to give you colors that the resume and the cover letter cannot capture, right? So that's an example of a project. Now let's go one level up. That's an example of one of my 4 projects in my portfolio. And then if you scroll down, another project, same, but it's the same format. If you scroll down, another project. If you scroll down, another project. Keep in mind, I have 4 projects here, right? No more, no less, right? 4 projects. Does that mean I only worked on 4 projects at my time at MIT? No, it's not. Now, if you go to the other page, this is where you can see like everything else that I've done that I'm proud of, but I didn't put in my portfolio, right? So when it comes to, I know in the audience today, you guys represent a range of experiences. You know, there are freshmen, there are juniors, and there are seniors as well. As you advance your time at MIT, you're going to accumulate experiences. So while in the beginning, you're trying to find anything to add to your application, by the time you're a junior and senior, you got to start thinking about what to take away. So for me, everything under other, these were things that I decided to take away so that they didn't detract from the main message I was trying to send with my portfolio. You know, I have photos from cooking, glass blowing, toy design, my thesis, doing work with the MBA, some writing, right? These are things that I'm proud of, but they don't necessarily add to the narrative that I was trying to build with with my portfolio. So that was a high-level overview of my structure. Now I'm going to give you guys, next I'm going to talk about the evolution, right? My website didn't always look like this, right? This other page, at some point, all of this was on the same page. All of this was in my portfolio, right? So when you go to my portfolio, as opposed to seeing 4 projects, people used to see like 12 plus projects, okay? And then you know, my summary and my text, you know, this stuff changed. Generally speaking, the trend was that it got longer as I added more things. And then recently I realized that it was a little bit too long, so long that I was perhaps I was even detracting from my main message. So that's when I decided to go from 12 plus projects down to 4 main projects. So that's a little bit about my evolution, and that's one of the messages I want to send across, right? Like, there's no right, there's no portfolio that's right or a portfolio that's wrong, but there's a portfolio that can get better over time, and the only way to get better is to start today, and so that you can get started, figure out what's wrong with it, and identify areas to improve over time. So that's a bit about the evolution. I don't have screenshots of what it looked like in the past, but just imagine a lot of details like on this page. Yeah. And then next, I want to talk about a couple of things that I wish I knew when I started. Well, one of the first thing is that I wish I knew to make it unique and personal. In the beginning, I started by just looking at other people's portfolios, and I was emulating their styles and kind of what they had. And I think that's a good place to start, right? Especially if you if you're new to it, why not copy somebody who has spent the time to do it, right? But it's important to keep it unique because you're the only you out there, and you know you bring a very unique set of value to whatever organization you're applying to an opportunity for. So you want to be able to distinguish yourself from everyone else, right? Who are probably equally, if not more talented than you. So that's one reason why I have this journey, this journey tab, right? This is where I tell my specific story that I don't really have the space to tell in my resume my um, and my cover letter, right? And here I use images and some text to just share my story. And I think, and this is an important part about me, so that's why I put that, right? For you guys, it may look something different, but you really just have to figure out what's unique about you, embrace it, and then share it, right? So that's one of the first things I wish I knew. And then the second thing I wish I knew is that that your work won't speak for yourself. Even if you do really amazing work, if you don't show it and make it public, people won't know, right? And again, the best way to improve your portfolio over time is to ask for feedback. And you won't get feedback if you don't show it to anybody. So make it a habit to show this to as many people as possible and ask them for what they think. Sometimes they're going to give you good feedback, other times they're not. But if you just keep doing that, you're going to trend in the right direction. And the last thing that I wish I knew was to start documenting as early as possible. I actually did a pretty good job with documenting as early as possible, but this is the best advice I can give anybody. Like wherever you are at now, start taking photos. You know, like the photos really help add colors to your projects. It's one thing to, in an interview, to to talk about using words what you did. It's another thing to share your link with somebody and talk them through and show them the images and talk and let them kind of see for themselves and help them visualize and put themselves in your position. And that's why images are so important. So yeah, so I took a lot of images. So that's what I'm gonna leave you guys with. You know, take a lot of images. You never know which one's gonna be useful. So don't judge and just take as many images as possible. And then at the end of the project, then spend a little bit of time to go through it and pick the best ones and then put them up to tell your to craft your narrative. So that's enough about my portfolio. Now I'm going to show you guys some other portfolios just to emphasize my point that there's no right format for a portfolio, and it changes per person. So I'm going to start by talking about Connie. Can you guys still see my screen? All right, I got a thumbs up from Maria. So I'm going to start by talking about Connie. Connie was a class of 2017. By the way, everybody, all the websites I'm going to share with you guys, like these are all MIT alums. So Connie is a class of I think 16 or 17, and she studied mechanical engineering, like me. But after graduating, she went to teach for 2 years and is currently running her own educational nonprofit and is currently doing business school. So that's Connie, right? So while we share a similar background, we are interested in completely different topics, right? She's interested in education. So let's see what her website is like. And on her main page, she introduces herself. She's an entrepreneur designing the future of education, right? And then you scroll down, she has a paragraph about engineering, a paragraph about teaching, a paragraph about entrepreneur. That's it, right? 3 things. And then, so that's her main page. If you go to her bio, right, it's a paragraph, right? And then, so Project Invent is that nonprofit that I was talking about. So if you click into that, that leads you to the page for that program. And it's not just about her, but this is her, right? So this is a big part of her. And that's why she linked that at her website. And then we just keep going, you know, work with me. This is this is where she invites people to collaborate with her. But as you can see, it's very education oriented. You know, it's about doing workshops, panels, speaking, right? And that's pretty much it. So other than her homepage, where she mentions engineering ones here, and then her resume, where she's also gonna say more things about engineering, I think. Yeah, so this workshop is about portfolio, not resume, but just really quickly, you know, on the left side, it's all education stuff, and on the right side is engineering. But going back to the portfolio, notice how she doesn't, as opposed to me, she doesn't have pictures of her work from as an engineer. And it's not that she didn't have it, right? Because I knew Connie from a long time ago. And at an earlier stage in time, her website had featured a lot more of those pictures of those past engineering projects. But currently, because of her change in direction, she doesn't have that anymore. And this goes back to my point of understanding your narrative and saying no, right? Saying no to certain things so that you can maintain and strengthen that narrative, right? Less is really more here. And throwing everything you've done here is not necessarily productive, right? If you want to look for a job as an engineer at a product company, your work as an educator, like it's cool, it's a nice to have, but you have to really work hard on figuring out how that's gonna add to your interest as an engineer. And if it doesn't, quite frankly, it's better to keep it off. So that's Connie. That's Connie. So I'm gonna move on to another person. His name is Matt Carney. I actually don't know him in person, but he's like an internet celebrity. He's a PhD at MIT Media Lab, and he does really cool things with the biomechatronics group. So this is homepage, right? It's just a picture. But if you go to his about page, this is really cool. You know, what's his objective? It's to build cool shit that matters, right? And these are his design ethos. And then if you scroll down, you know, he has some paragraphs to describe it. He has a podcast where he talks for 17 minutes. And then because he's in the academic world, but by the way, everybody I'm showing you, we're all different. Like we all have an engineering background, but we're in different worlds. I'm in the product development industry world. Connie is in the educational tech world. And Matt, he's in the, you know, mechatronics academia world, right? And so for Matt, it makes sense that he's talking about his thesis. You know, he's showing off the papers that he's written, you know, literature that he's been cited on, patents that he's issued, right? Patents, you know, application patents, and then also press. You know, this guy's pretty famous. That's pretty cool. You know, he obviously he's done a lot of interviews. He's also spoken a lot, right? So he has those. I think this guy's really cool. He's really talented in many different ways. And his website really shows that he's not just an engineer. He's not just a speaker. He's not just the writer. He's like all of these things. And then projects, you can look, and he categorized it by industry, academic, tutorial, side projects, right? So, you know, but it's a similar, but there are some similarities here. You know, he leads with big, shiny cover photo. And if you're interested in any one of them, you click into it to learn more, right? But you don't want to bore people with too much text. So you want to keep it, you want to find a right balance between keeping the content engaging and interesting and descriptive, but not too wordy. If people really want to learn more about it, let them click into it and read, right? Don't force people to go through all this text. So that's Matt. He's got some interesting stuff here, but I'm gonna move on in the interest of time. And the last person I'm gonna show you is Julie. So Julie is also, she also studied mechanical engineering at MIT, and she's currently working in industry in the design firm actually. And what's cool about Julie is, right, she's not just an engineer, she's also a musician, and she has a side business as a photographer, right? So her website kind of shows these 3 different sides of her, right? So mechanical engineer, if you click that, you can see her work as a mechanical engineer. You know, she's got pictures. So this is very similar to Matt and myself, right? You got a high level picture, and you can go in and you can see more details, right? So that's Julie. Let's go back to her homepage. But she also does music and photography, right? Music, you know, it's a similar format, but you know, but different pictures to add colors. She's got numbers. Numbers are really good. It helps people quantify kind of what you did, as opposed to saying, I help improve the system, right? Quantify it, right? That helps somebody who didn't work with you on that project, like your employer, to better visualize your accomplishments. And this is something you wanna do, whether if it's whether if you're doing a project or it's a project you've done in the past. It's helpful to always think about, how can I quantify what I'm doing? Yeah, so this is her music stuff, and then her photography stuff. Like, she has a photography business. So right now on her homepage, on her portfolio, she has this page to where she briefly goes over some of her samples and what she does. But she actually has an entire different page where she dedicates to photography. Again, this is her side business, so it's a big thing, right? So you can go to that page from her personal portfolio, but not the other way around, I think. So this is her kind of professional photography business page, right? So if you were a customer looking for photography, you would come here and you would, you know, see all this work, and you wouldn't be able to go back to her portfolio. But this is how she decided to control that narrative, right? Like, for people, for this page, her focus, at least in her intention, is photography, nothing else. She doesn't want to distract from that. Maybe she doesn't think her background as an engineer and musician really adds too much to photography. Maybe that's why she keeps it separate. That's my guess. But yeah, so you can see, so this is, so you can see her kind of business portfolio. So those were some flavors of different portfolios. And again, the main message here is that there's no right or wrong way to do your portfolio. So next, I want to make it more interactive and engage you guys. So I know you guys have all kind of gone through those portfolios, you know, before when you guys were filling out the survey. So I'm curious, like, were there any particular portfolios that really spoke out to you? And what did you like about certain portfolios? What were something you like about certain portfolios, and what were some things you dislike about certain portfolios? Anyone can start. Just unmute and just speak your mind.
I really like Julie's portfolio. Yeah, I think it was interesting because, like, for me personally, it was interesting to see how Julie sort of, I don't know, talked about theater in particular, because I think there, like, that was one of the very few examples that I've seen people put the theater on their portfolio, and it was nice to see a good example of it.
Yeah, building on that, right? Theater was a big part of her MIT career. It's something that makes her unique. It's something that she feels very passionate about. So that's why she dedicates that segment in her website, in her portfolio, right? Anyone else? Anything you like about any of these web pages?
Also, something that I noticed in Matt Carney's portfolio was that in his about and bio page, he really had he had his values very clearly listed there, which I think is good when you as someone looking at it, you can see why he does the way things he does. Something also that I noticed that is interesting, that is he swore in his bio, which is something I don't know if I would be willing to do at this point, especially in applying to jobs or not, you know? I'm not sure if that would be taken very well, but I wonder if that's just because the position he's at right now, he's okay with that.
Very great observation. So I don't know Matt personally, based on what I know about him, he's definitely one of the leaders in his field, and he's a really accomplished and talented individual. And I think he's very sought after at these different at different employers. Also, right, Matt is a couple of years ahead of us. I think he just finished his PhD program at MIT, so he's got multiple years of experience more than us, right? So keep that in mind too. And the more experience you have, the more leverage you can have when you're having a conversation with an employer. And yeah, to your point, it's probably not going to help you very much by swearing, but because he's swearing, there's a rawness to it that makes him relatable. That makes this kind of honest and authentic, right? Maybe he's not just speaking to employers. Maybe he's also using this to find collaborators, to find, partners in ventures. So yeah, it's a very good observation. Yeah, maybe he's not just looking for jobs. I mean, I doubt he's just looking for jobs. Maybe he wants to become a professor. So yeah, again, different worlds. Anyone else have anything else they want to share?
I guess like what I was thinking about a lot when I was making my own portfolio was like what content to put. And I think seeing that like you, for example, only had like 4 big projects is like really eye-opening, because like as a junior, like I have projects from freshman year that are like objectively cool, but like I don't know how relevant they are to like my journey or like the work I want to apply to. And so I think like seeing that it's okay to like really like hammer down on those like main projects is like really helpful.
Absolutely. It's not only okay, you have to do that. Like imagine if you're an employer where you have a full-time job, and then in addition to that, you have to hire for this position, and you find this website of a candidate who's interested in your company. And when you go there, there's just a ton of information, right? That's not helpful. You want to make it easy for somebody to understand who you are and to be convinced that you are the right person. Make it easy for them, right? So yeah, very good point. It's so important to figure out what to say no to. Awesome. Now that's all very, yeah, go ahead.
I have one last question. Like, how did you like make your website? Like, what did you use?
Yeah, so I'll definitely get to that. So how about I come back to that, because I plan to speak about that very soon. But yeah, I'll definitely address that. Now, before I address that question, are there any things that people dislike about any of these pages? But like, don't, be honest. Nothing is personal. I won't be offended. No one will be offended. Again, going back to feedback, like this is very helpful for me, for other people. So are there any things that you guys feel like it's confusing, it's like weak, something that you would do different for any one of these pages?
So when I see your journey page, I like what it's doing and like what it's like signifying to me when I look at it. But I also feel like if I want to implement that myself, I probably would want to do it in a different way to like present like, oh, this is who I am and where I've come from. Yeah. So I'm still trying to figure out to see like what other ways there are to like present this sort of information.
Absolutely. Hey, this is my way. Not saying it's the right way, but it's my way. And yeah, again, it's constantly evolving, right? Now I'm constantly trying to make the message more crisp, make the pictures better, and add a bit more color to it. But yeah, to your point, if you don't, this might not resonate with you, right? So, and that's what's cool about a portfolio is you can make it yours. So figure out what that looks like and just own it, right? I like this. Yeah, so just own it. Thanks for sharing that. Anyone else want to share anything they will do different in regards to any of these pages?
Yeah, I think the one thing I would do different is like I feel like I like the idea of having a lot of text, but I'd want like pictures interspersed throughout the text rather than having like a gallery. Because I feel like it makes it like easier to not feel like you're just reading a big block, you know?
Yeah. Sorry, just to clarify, are you saying you don't like too many pictures altogether, or you want like to intersperse it with text?
Yeah, so like within this text, I'd have pictures like this. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I know what you mean. It's a balance, right? You know, you want to show pictures to add colors, but you also want to have text to explain. So the way I approached it, I just explain everything up top, and then everything below was pictures. That's just how I did it. You guys can feel free to do it in your own way. And if you look at these other examples, and just go into their projects, everyone has a slightly different style, right? So
Yeah,
the reason why,
I think like rather than showing all those pictures, like personally for me, I think I'd rather have it be like somewhere where you can click to like the next picture. Like I think was it the Matt Carney who had it? Like at the very beginning you can like, or maybe it was a slideshow.
oh yeah,
Yeah. Like
this,
have yeah, like that, have that instead of having a bunch of the gallery, I guess. For me, I think that's what I would do.
there you go, there you go. Yeah, this is really cool stuff. Yeah, thanks for sharing, everybody. That's awesome. So next, let's see. Okay, next, I'm gonna talk about the tools. You know, how can you do this? And speak a bit about that. So I can only speak to my website because I don't know how the other individuals made their websites. But the way I did it, it's three main tools. Well, the tool that I used to build this website is called Squarespace. It's a website building platform. It's a no-code, which is the key word. It's a no-code website building platform that allows you to build simple and beautiful photo websites very easily. The cost is about $100 a year, and for me, that's like, I mean, it's a price I'm willing to pay just to tell my story and build that web presence. So that's, yeah, so that's the cost. And what, so, but in addition to that, while Squarespace is the program on the back end that makes this possible, there are two other tools that are even more important in order to make this, right? The first one is paper and pencil, right? Before building this website, before you build your website, assuming you don't have one, you should build it in paper and pencil. So take out a piece of paper, grab a pencil, and use each page to represent a page on your dream website, and just draw what you want it to look like, right? Some people mention slideshows, some people mention pictures and text, right? And like mixed in an even way. Draw that out. The better you can draw it, the better you can execute and make this on the website, right? Making it on the website is easy, especially nowadays with these no-code platforms. All you do is click and drag. But if you don't have that blueprint on paper before you start working with Squarespace, you're gonna waste a lot of time just just trial and erroring. It takes more time to experiment on Squarespace than experiment on paper. So that's why I encourage you guys to start with paper. So that's tool number one. That's super important. Tool number two is Google Photos / Dropbox. This goes back to my point earlier about documenting now, today. Start documenting today, not tomorrow, right? Start taking photos. Even if there are many times when I'm in the middle of a project where it didn't feel natural for me to take a photo. Maybe it's because it's not done yet. Maybe it's because it doesn't look as good as my mind wants it to look yet. So mentally, I'm telling myself, okay, let me wait a couple more days. You know, by the end of this week, I'll take a photo because that's when it'll look better. But when you get those thoughts, you gotta fight it, right? Take the photo now. You never know what's gonna happen, and you want to build a habit of taking photos. And over time, you're going to become better and more efficient, and it's going to be more routine for you. But it's better for you. It's better for you if you have 100 photos to pick from rather than 10 disconnected random photos at different points in time. So when it comes to photos and documentation, more is better. Cool. So those are the tools. Salma, does that answer your question about how to do it? Do you feel like you could do it now?
Yeah, totally.
But by the way, just to add, like, so the Squarespace is really easy. It's really simple. You guys are at MIT, like you'll pick it up in no time. In addition to kind of clicking and dragging, which is the design process of Squarespace, you also have to buy your own domain. For me, I mean, it's good to go simple. I think in high school, a lot of people would, they have funny emails, maybe like Dark Knight 567 or something, right? This is not a time for that. You want it to be personal, to make sense, and not raise questions, right? So go simple, and using your full name or some part of your name, a unique part of your name, is usually good. Like my name is pretty unique, so I was able to just keep that. So this is great. It's clean. It's simple. And I just shahi.com. This name costed me about $10, which is a one-time fee. And once you get that, all you have to do when you're setting up Squarespace is to attach the Squarespace to that domain, and then to link it, and that's it. And then once you have your web design on paper and pencil, you just go to Squarespace, pick your favorite template, or you make your own, right? So that's how you do it. Cool. Awesome. So so next up, I have planned is just go through some of the questions that people have asked, and also and before that, poll questions from the audience. But before we do that, I actually want to send you guys a quick feedback survey. So we're gonna so I just sent it in the chat. This is gonna be very helpful for me to figure out how to improve this workshop and workshop like these for the future. So I really appreciate if you guys can take the next 3-4 minutes to just fill it out. It's a really short survey. And when you guys are done with that, just give me a thumbs up. And yeah, we'll move on to Q&A.
For mentor's name, do we put your name?
Yeah, just put my name. While you guys are doing that, I'll make you guys hungry with photos of my food. Again, this is an example of something that it's an important part of my identity, but doesn't really align yet with my career as an engineer. So so for the time being, it's in my other page.
Yeah, I guess one like large questions that I had, it was how do you approach crafting your narrative? Because like while I do have some photos from my projects and stuff like that, it's really hard to figure out which ones to focus on because I'm not quite sure what sort of industry I want to work with. Yeah. And it's sort of like I'm in the process right now of trying to figure out how my homepage should look like, and from that, obviously, how to structure my projects.
Absolutely. So your question to me was how to craft your narrative, but then a question you told me that you're exploring is what industry you want to work in, right? So that question that you didn't ask me, that you brought up indirectly, that's the most important thing. Like by figuring that out, the better everything else just follows. Your portfolio is a reflection of you in alignment with your intended career, right? So the better you can understand what career you want and what you want to do after MIT, the better you, like the more clarity you will have for your homepage. I know I'm not answering your question, but I'm just, my point is, I think you should emphasize on figuring out what is that career that you want. And I know, look, career is like a big word, I don't want to overwhelm you. I was in your position not too long ago. I know it's a very tough thing to think about, and you don't have to know where your career is. No one knows. I don't know. Someone 10 years down the line, they don't know. It's something that's always changing. But what is helpful is to have an idea of the direction you want to go in, and the next couple of things you want to do. And these aren't things that are necessarily set in stone, but they're just things that are there to guide you to make decisions in the interim, right? So maybe you want to work in 3D printing, right? I remember you posted a couple of times about, your 3D printing. I mean, you sounded like you were pretty into 3D printers. Maybe let's assume that you are very curious and excited about 3D printing technology. Maybe you want to work at Formlabs, Markforged, companies of the sort. For a company like that, you might want to show them your similar projects where you can show off your hacker ability, assuming you want to build those machines there and do R&D and do engineering there. Maybe you want to show 3D printing projects you've worked on in the past, and just anything related to that 3D printing, whether you're teaching 3D printing, you're building 3D printers, you're running a 3D printing shop, right? Whatever it may be, right? Do you see how that fits the narrative of somebody who wants to go into the industry of 3D printing? But it goes back to knowing that you want to go into 3D printing first. So yeah, so it's kind of close your eyes, imagine the future you want to have, and then work backwards.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Why did you decide not to have your resume on your website as compared to, I know someone else did?
So, to be honest, I actually have my resume on my website.
Ooh, okay.
It's right here. But to answer your question, but to answer the question that I think you were asking, why is your resume so tiny?
Yeah.
It's at the bottom of your homepage. Yeah, sure, it's red, but it's small. It's easy to miss it. I don't anticipate people to read this whole thing. The reason for that is because it's based on my understanding of my users, right? Look, I'm a product designer, right? I think of everything as a product. This website is my product, and the users of this website are people who wants to learn about me, and the people, and this group of people, a big group of these people are people that are potentially have an employment opportunity, and my website doesn't have too much marketing or whatever, so people don't just randomly find this. You won't see this in an ad, okay? But the main way for someone to find this is by looking at my resume. So when I applied to a job, and yeah, part of my application is my resume. And when someone's going through my resume, at the very top, they see my email, my phone number, and my website. Okay. So when they go to my website, I assume that people go to my website from my resume, and that's why I don't emphasize my resume anywhere else. I don't want to waste space, so to speak. And that's me saying, no, I don't want to put my resume up front and center up here.
Okay, makes sense. Yeah, I think that's a really good reason too. The funny thing is, I think I've actually seen your website before, but I think it was mainly to show, to demonstrate the layout again. I don't know when. It just seems familiar. Another question. I was wondering. How did you get into your projects that you put on your portfolio? How do you find those opportunities, I guess?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. Yeah, it's all different, right? And I'll quickly explain the context. So this is a robotic bartender who was done with a startup that was going through MIT Delta V, which is an accelerator. They were looking for an engineer. I was really interested. So that's that. This right here, it's a sarcophagus. It's a project that I did in collaboration with an escape room company which was founded by an MIT alum. And this was done through a class in the mechanical engineering department. It was called Advanced Product Design or something. Was taught by Professor Wallace, which used to be offered every 2 years. So that's that. So this is a class. This right here is also a class. I did this as part of my 200-9 project, senior capstone, and this right here, it's a smart eye remote that uses your eye blinks to detect your eye blinks to control home appliances. And it was a product designed for ALS patients. And then this last one is also from a class. It's 2AA. It's the class where you build 50 yo-yos with a team. So these are my top 4 projects. And as you guys can see, these are all like from school. It's clear that I lack industry experience, right? This is the best I have. But you always just gotta kind of keep growing and keep, and this is what I mean by how your website is supposed to change. Right now, these are the best projects I have. Are they impressive? Well, it depends on who you're talking to, right? If I'm talking to a freshman, yeah, these are impressive because they have never done anything like this. But if you're talking to someone in industry who's hiring for an engineer with experience, like I'm just a kid with no real working experience, right? Because all of these were done in classes. So I recognize that, and that's why I was telling Maria earlier. You know, I'm really excited about. I'm currently working as an engineer in this industry right now, and the next milestone I'm really looking forward to and working towards is designing a product that's going to go, designing millions of units of a product that's going to go on shelves of national retail, right? That's, to me, that's a project and an experience that's really going to validate my credibility as a product developer and an engineer. But to your point, right? It's a constant journey going from where you're at now, wherever you may be, to the next big thing, and you're always just gonna, replace it with more relevant projects and cooler stuff.
Yeah, that's actually really helpful. Yeah, because I was thinking about myself, and I didn't know if I could find anything like outside of school. But knowing that you can actually put class projects, I guess. Well, I mean, like projects that you did in class on your website is cool.
Yeah, and just to clarify, if you guys go to my resume, it's like a mix. So even though my portfolio is mainly projects from classes, because those are the coolest, which is one part of it. The other part is that what's cool about doing projects in school is that these are like, you didn't sign NDA. It's your property. You can do whatever you want with it for the most part. Compared to, and I also worked at a couple of companies. I worked at, where my companies go? I worked at Shark Ninja. I worked at Delph. Shark Ninja was a product development company. Delph is a product design consultancy. But I didn't really have much pictures from there. Not because I didn't take pictures, but because, I mean, one, I didn't ask, so that's my fault. But two, it's a private company. There's more bureaucracy you have to overcome to get an okay from the company to say yes, you can put these out there. And sometimes they'll say no. And it's part of the contract you sign in the beginning that everything you do, it's part of company property. So if you want to share pictures, you just have to ask. And they may say yes, but they have the right of saying no. So even though you're a student, you might think, oh, my it's just a student project. Like, you can document it so well and just tell your story better than like your industry projects can, right? So there are pros and cons. But just start taking pictures. It'll go a long way.
Yeah, so I do wonder about, like, within the portfolio website, if like how and where like work with companies goes, or like it just doesn't go there at all. Because yeah, I'm in a similar situation where like with a company we're doing stuff with them, but like I don't have many pictures to really show the public, but it is like a substantial amount of time I still put into that. So yeah, I'm not sure how to work that in.
My question is, have you had a conversation with your employer about the usage of these photos?
Not yet, but I do already anticipate that it's like not ready to be released. Like I already know it's like not ready.
Exactly. So like that, you're just legally binded in that sense, and you got to be careful. You're like, there's a very fine line there. You got to be very careful. My default answer is don't show it. When in doubt, don't show it. Last thing you want is your previous company to come suing you. So don't use it. Again, communication and transparency is the best policy. So just talk to your company, get their okay. If they say yes, then you can use it. Let me show you an example of something that I've seen. So Tuan, I didn't show you guys his website, but he's another alum. He's working at Apple now, and he did an internship at Nestlab. Also worked at Boston Dynamics. But let's just to give you an example, right? Iron Man theme yo-yo. This is an MIT class. So if you go here, you see a lot of photos, right? Photos, right? This is just his style, but he has photos and, oh, that's him. So a lot of cool things. But now if you look at Boston Dynamics, yeah, I mean, it's just, okay, he's got 2 videos. But guess what? These are the Boston Dynamics public videos, right? And then he had a paragraph, right? Not nearly as detailed. And if you go to Nest, right? He worked on this thing, right? He got 3 photos. Now, so not nearly as detailed as any of his other projects, but better than nothing, right? So this is so another idea is to look for public photos of whatever thing you worked on, and do something like this, right? These are all product photos. This looks like it's an internal photo, right? Maybe he asked for approval, and they probably said yes. So these 2 look like internal photos, but this one is not. So that's another approach you can take. Use things that are already public, that have already been approved. Use that in your portfolio, and just really tell the narrative with the words.
So then my question is, so if I do because I'm right now, I also have a portfolio with a similar format of like I main projects on like 1 page, but then if it's like this sort of thing where like even if you look into the project, there won't be a lot to show. I don't see how this would fit into like a front page sort of thing, and would it fit better than into like a side page? That makes sense.
So to be honest with you, if I was in your position and I had multiple projects where I can't, where my company doesn't want me to show on my portfolio in the way that I want, I would just think about how I would describe this project in a way that does not that respects my company's IP, but also explains my accomplishment, my achievements, right? Because I don't know what product you worked on. We can talk about this offline, but yeah, because it's a case by case basis. But let's say it's super secretive. You can't really give details. Last thing you want is to give the impression to the company you're talking to that you're somebody who doesn't respect, IPs and NDAs, right? You don't want to do that. So just think of a way to explain your contributions in a way that doesn't expose those details. And maybe you can't use photos. Maybe you can't, just because of your specific restrictions, right? But you can use words to kind of still describe your contribution, right? And people will understand if you tell them, okay, I work for this company, and I worked on some really cool projects there that really was foundational to my experiences, but I can't share details. However, I can tell you, but then you go on to talk about high level things that don't go into the details. Like they'll respect you for that, and they'll understand. And that's so just craft your narrative with your constraint. You're an engineer, so this should be your bread and butter. But again, if you're interested, we can talk about this offline, and I can help you out.
Okay, thank you.
Of course. Does anybody have any other questions?
Since we don't have like access to makerspaces on campus right now, what are some like online programs or like other things we can be doing to like continue to like build our skill sets and like find inspiration, I guess?
Yeah. Have you yeah, Cat is great. Good suggestion, Maria. Have you heard of the MIT Online Makerspace?
I have now.
Oh wow, you're missing out. Well, so this workshop is actually sponsored by MIT Online Makerspace, which is MIT's very first online community, bringing together makers from all across campus to connect with each other, get inspirations, learn new skills. and ask questions to mentors like me. There are other mentors on the platform. So let's
Oh wait, oh yeah, I'm in the Slack.
yeah. So it's the Slack. If you have questions, just post it there. Like there are mentors there that are just waiting for questions to be asked. And we're also working on programming, like workshops like these to talk about specific topics. But it's helpful to hear from you guys about what you want, right? Because we don't know what you guys want, and the more you can tell us, you know, things that like topics you want to learn, questions you have, just engage on the platform. That's going to help us figure out how to come up with content and spend and allocate our resources to address your needs, right? That Slack community is there to support you guys remotely. And if you're interested in CAD, I don't know what you're interested in, Sophie. But if you just tell me, then we can pick it up from there. But in the meantime, just if you have questions, post it on the Slack. And if you have ideas, I think somewhere in the feedback form, you know, there was a place for you to share your ideas. But also feel free to just Slack them to me personally if you want, if you're more comfortable with that. But yeah, right now we're trying to kind of center. We're really building out this Slack community. Some of you guys were there like really early on, and right now we're trying to build a website. We're trying to organize our resources so people can access it easier. And we grew our team. We doubled our team from 1 to 2, which is like amazing. And yeah, just are there anything off the top of your head that you want to learn, Sophie?
I think Maria's suggestion about CAD was really good. I've been doing that a little for Rocket Team, so I think I'll just continue to work on that. As
Awesome.
Like something to focus on. Yeah, thank you.
My roommate is in Rocket Team.
Whoa.
Ooh.
Yeah, you guys should connect. Guys, part of the platform, it's like part of the Slack is for you guys to just get to know who else is in this space and what people are doing, right? Maria's roommate is in Rocket Team. You guys should connect. But yeah, on CAD, I actually did a CAD session a long time ago. We're planning to do more, okay? So stay tuned. But in the meantime, any question, just post it on the Slack or message it to me. Give us ideas. Yeah, right. We're trying to create things for you guys, and the more you guys can engage with us and give us questions and ideas, like the better we can answer those questions and act upon those ideas.
Yeah, I think it'd be fun to have maybe, I don't know, a small. I don't want to say competition because that's kind of strange, but maybe like a theme that like, oh, we can like all work on this particular aspect of, I don't know, Fusion 360, where you can generate designs instead of like making designs. And then we could all sort of learn more, or like have a workshop on how to use it, and then perhaps like showcase our projects. So it's like more targeted, because CAD is very large. And the more you go into it, the more you discover how large it is, at least from my experience.
Tell me about it. Yeah, I'm using CAD a lot in my current job for this task I'm currently doing. And yeah, there's so much.
Yeah.
Yeah, I also agree. I think like some sort of like almost like a competition kind of like does make sense to me, but like some way where like everyone would submit something for something, but like the theme would be like centered around like maybe a few of the unique features within like Fusion 360, for example. Because yeah, there's so many like cool things you can do, but like that you might never actually need to really do, but are still interesting to try out. Like some of the more geometry shape things are interesting, and you can make a lot of different things out of them.
Cool. Yeah, great ideas. Guys, just by a show of hand, or actually, let's just go down the list. Like, what CAD system does everybody use? Maria, what do you use?
I use Fusion because I have Mac from MIT. That's the only thing I have.
What about you, Sophie?
I use SolidWorks.
Right. What about you, Sabrina?
I use Fusion 360 for my personal projects, but I've definitely used SolidWorks and lots of other things for like classes and stuff. But I think Fusion is like the best for user friendly and also beginner.
Yeah.
And
sounds
ASIC.
good. That's helpful. I don't know if you guys have met Jamie, but she's the other mentor, and I think, well, she has experience with SolidWorks. She also knows Rhino and all this. She has an architecture background, so she knows all these other softwares as well. And she's planning some workshops. So yeah, this is really helpful. If you guys have like specific ideas of what you want to do, just like just tell us. Like if because again, to your point, these packages are huge. But if you guys have specific things that you're curious about and you're interested in, right, tell us, right? If you guys don't tell us, we don't know where to start. And we might pick something that you guys like that don't interest you guys at all and are not relevant. So yeah, so just give us idea. And I don't want to put you guys on the spot. You guys don't have to tell me now, but again, like use that Slack group. Like I check it daily, and I'm constantly engaging people. So feel free to engage with me, with Jamie, with everyone else, right? Everyone is cool. Everyone's working on something. One thing we're trying to do is get people to post more, but be the change you want to see, right? So go post, and people will start posting too.
I think some competitions with some prizes at the end of it would definitely motivate me some more. Prizes are always very interesting to me.
Sounds good. Hey, we had those ideas like a couple months ago, but I just need to hear from you, Sabrina. So now that you said it to my face, like I'll definitely bring that up to the team, and we'll work on something. It's gonna come soon. So.
Also, just a quick question. Could I ask you to give me some feedback on my portfolio, probably offline?
Absolutely. Again, just wherever you're at, whether it's on paper or it's on website, just send it to me. You can connect with me directly on Slack, and I'll respond within days. So yeah, any of you guys, if you want feedback, feel free to engage with me offline. Again, this is iterative, right? This is just 1 hour session, right? We're not gonna save the world here, but definitely like the homework for you guys is just to like do some of the things I mentioned, maybe wherever you're at, start drawing on paper, start building it out, and and ask me for feedback and ask your peers for feedback, right? But yeah, I'm definitely open and I'm excited to take a look at what you guys are doing and give you feedback. Awesome. Does anyone have any other questions or suggestions? Anything they want to share? How their Sunday is going? How excited they are to finish fall semester?
I have to go now, but I just wanted to say thank you so much for holding this session. I'm like exploring possible majors, and I think like I was really able to see like the kind of paths people take through mechanical engineering here, and it's definitely made me a lot more interested in kind of exploring this course. So this has been super, super helpful, and it's been really fun to see everyone's portfolios and hear you talk. So thank you so much, Wei.
Absolutely. I'm so glad. One thing that was really helpful for me was to look at what upperclassmen had worked on, right? So I already graduated not too long ago. So if you look at my portfolio, like you'll see things that you can probably take.
Okay, awesome. I'll definitely look through them then. Again,
Sounds good.
thank you so much.
Yeah, of course.
Have a great night.
Something that I would kind of suggest is that for the portfolio making, especially since it's such a good idea to have people start so young, it should really start with like the 2BB, because that's like a very big project class that like usually freshmen take. I feel like if like somehow someone can connect with David Wallace to like tell him that like they do like the special workshop sessions. One of those should be like on like sending a portfolio, and like your first project immediately straight off the bat is like your the toy design, because I would think that would be a really good way to get like freshmen from the get-go with portfolios.
Okay, that's a great idea. Definitely. That's a great idea, and I'll look more into that. I mean, I took 2BB. It's if you look under about, like you can see a small thing about that. But yeah, no one had told me about portfolio making, and in retrospect, I could have documented it way better, but I didn't because that was my first real project. But yeah, very good idea.
I took 200 with Maria Yang, and we didn't have a specific workshop dedicated to portfolios, but she did mention it extensively before we started, and I think briefly after we were done with one of our big projects. In my other intro to design class, 3007, Also, it doesn't talk about workshops, but it forces us to take pictures of specific and make descriptions of our projects in a way that you can just copy paste in your portfolio.
Oh, yeah.
So I think maybe the situation has improved slightly recently, but I definitely agree that it would be a great idea to have a workshop dedicated to this.
Yeah, I'm gonna be honest with you guys. Like MIT is great at teaching, students technical things and giving you guys great opportunities, but it's not the best at teaching you guys, like teaching students how to navigate the real world, tell your
Yeah.
story, network, interview, and things of the sort. It's just not part of the emphasis. And yeah, hey, that's why I'm doing what I'm doing, right? Trying to just help you guys as you guys are early on in your journey.
Yeah, I agree. I think basically all the course 2 intro classes, the 200 ones, portfolio making should be a core component at least at some point. That way it's clicks in your head from at least freshman year.
Yeah. Yeah, I think MIT really expects people to learn these other things indirectly through experiences. And I don't know. I mean, it's just their style, and I learned it. You guys are learning it now. But yeah, it's definitely good to talk more about these topics like these early on.
Yeah, I think I gotta go now, but thank you a lot. It was really helpful to see all the different variety of portfolios you can have, and just a lot of good knowledge.
Absolutely, absolutely. Glad I can help. Thank you guys for showing up.
Yep, thank you.
Yeah,
Thank
absolutely.
you.
Enjoy the rest
Have
of
a
your
good rest
Sunday.
of the weekend. Yeah.
Yeah. Share. I'm recording.